Good afternoon out there, everybody in YouTube land. My name is Jared, and this is my channel, Mazda B3K. In this video, we're going to be doing a LED headlight conversion on my 2001 Ford F250, nicknamed Miss Mildew. Without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so we'll start out this video with basically who is allowing this to be possible. I was approached by, I think their name is pronounced AUXITO, and they asked if I would make a video showing off their product here, their LED lights, in my truck, and I said, sure, I'll do that. So you could say this video is sponsored by AUXITO in the sense that they're donating the part. That is all they have done. They have also provided a discount code for you guys. So I don't have the due date on it, but I'll have it in the video description. But if you enter the code Mazda B3K15, you can get 15% off your next AUXITO LED light or other headlight accessory purchase from their website, and all of that will be listed in the video description. So with the plugging out of the way, let's actually take a look at what came in the kit. There's two pieces. This has the bulbs themselves. As you can see, they make conversions for a variety of light bulb types. In this case, you notice how that has been marked. It's because the original halogen bulbs that come in this truck from the factory are HB5s and or they are 9007 series or type bulbs. So if we open this up, they give you a glove. This is important in that it keeps finger oils off the LEDs, which, like with halogens, there is a potential that if your finger oil stays on a heat surface, that it potentially can cause it to fail prematurely. So the gloves are nice. You have your instructions, and then we have the bulbs themselves. So what they did is the bulb housing itself feels like aluminum. It's been put together kind of nice. They went with two LED emitters on both sides, and all of this right here is the heat sink along with this. That's the reason why they go with a metal casing, so it'll be conductive to heat, so that they can kind of pull it back and out. I'm not gonna touch the LED surface or anything, but you get two in the kit. Put that back for now. Put this back up because there is another piece that we need to look at before we actually get started on anything. And then you have this. This, put simply, is the ballast. You may be wondering, well, what's a ballast and why do I need it if I'm doing an LED conversion? A ballast in this case is what it's going to let us do is it provides the necessary voltage so that your LED lights will function. But what it also does is it provides the necessary voltage so that the headlights will not flicker. If you do a straight bulb plug-in, LED bulb plug-in, without some form of a ballast to handle this, when your LED lights turn on, they're going to flicker horribly. I have a neighbor who did that on their vehicle, and it drives me insane every time I see them because they turn the light on, and it just sits there and flickers. Probably enough to give somebody a seizure. Not great. So you've got one plug here that is going to be for your bulb, your LED bulb, and one that's going to be to connect to the harness so that you get a nice easy drop in. No muss, no fuss. The only thing you got to do is figure out how you want to secure this ballast box, essentially. And that's all the pieces that we're going to need. There is one of these per bulb, so I have two of them total. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started on the removal of our headlight bulb and installation of our new stuff. What we're looking for is here. You're looking at the where the wire harness plugs in for the headlight bulb. This is the back of the headlight bucket. If we kind of zoom out here on the driver's side, this is your charcoal canister, actually. It's part of your evap assembly. But that's what we need, and you'll notice there's a black cylinder around where it actually plugs in here. That is the headlight bulb retainer, and we will need to loosen that. Should be, we rotate it to the left. Yeah. And then that loosens the entire assembly. There you go. Then your headlight comes out. So we can go ahead, we'll take the old one out. I'm saving those bulbs for a rainy day because 9007 is a very common size that is used for a ton of different applications, a ton of Ford applications, so you never know when you might need that. But we'll get this out of the way and then we'll work on threading our AUXITO bulbs in. Alright, so I will thread this in a little earlier in the video. But I found a better way to get your bulb out. So you've loosened your retaining collar, you've got your bulb pulled all the way up, and check it out. You can see the very ends of the actual retainer ring right there. So what you can do is, and I'm being careful because my bulb is now hot because I tested the other side, but this has a split in it, and that split is on purpose, is so that you can work either side. But if you get them up and get them started, you can then just do that. And that's a way you can get it out and you don't have to try to attack it from the bottom. So that is a better way to get your bulb out. You also want to hang on to this bulb retainer because we will be reusing it. Alright, so these are out of the way. Again, we're saving this 9007 series for a rainy day, because it is basically brand new. I had to replace these headlight buckets not that long ago. It's completely independent of this LED conversion. I was working on something and I leaned on it and it went crack and I broke that. So I actually have a video up on how you change these out if you are curious. All right, next step. Get our ballast installed. Okay, other tripod coming in clutch. I'll show you guys that one in a bit. But we need to go ahead and get our ballast in. So pretty straightforward. We have our harness connector and we have our appropriate ballast connector, which is labeled. So see how it says 9007? Camera would focus. There we go. So this is the leg. If you couldn't tell, this is the one that goes to your vehicle harness. And we're just going to get this guy plugged in. Just like that. Okay, so we're halfway there. One thing that will be kind of interesting to figure out is where to secure this guy. I'm thinking maybe this bracket the evap canister sits in. We'll have to see where it winds up sitting after we get our LED bulb in, which is our next step. So like what I showed earlier, you're going to want to take your light and you're going to notice if you're looking at this dead on, you've got some different size cutouts that are around the perimeter here, and those will line up and drop in with the cutouts here. You want, so there's going to be these little fingers that stick out, and you want those facing the LED bulb. I'm going to rotate this around. It'll drop in like so. And then what we're going to do is these notches, which may be a little tricky to see, but these notches in the retainer, let's see if I can get that to, okay. Those we're going to go ahead and shove that back into the headlight bucket, and get that to lock in before we try to connect the vehicle harness. So that's what we're doing next. Get that in there. Okay, just like that. So now our LED is locked in, our retainer's in, which is good, and we can go ahead and just plug in our LED power connector. Just push it till it clicks. And that's it. You're done. Other than securing this fella. So one thing that is pretty neat, at least according to AUXITO, I mean, I'll be tonight once the sun goes down, and I will do a comparison compared to my old ones about the beam spread and everything. But according to them, you don't have to worry about the orientation of the LED. So one thing that happens when you do a conversion to LED, because of how the headlight bucket reflectors are shaped, is you have to have the emitters generally pointing at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Otherwise, your beam form, or the actual shape of the light being thrown by the bulb, is wrong. And there'll be a bunch of glare, and you'll blind other drivers, and they're going to be really mad at you. And it's just not good. So generally 9 and 3, according to AUXITO, and again, I will be skeptical of this until I can look at it and test it myself. You don't have to worry about that. You just stick the LED in and you're done. That's it. So I'm going to go ahead just real quick, and I'm going to turn my headlights on. It's still, it's midday, but it should be enough for me to see if we have flicker. It should be enough to see if it's going to turn on, so on and there forth. So we'll go ahead and check that out. Okay guys, I'm going to leave you looking here. I'm going to go turn on my headlight, and we're going to see what happens. You'll have to tell me. Okay, so two things there. Looks like the LED is running. Can you guys hear that? That's the cooling fan that's built into the base of the LED. I'll grab the other one to show you. So right here, there is a fan built in, very high RPM fan, and it uses the passive cooling of the aluminum body here to act as a heat sink, and then the fan is able to pull that heat back and out to keep the bulbs cool. So good to know. Okay, so now we are left, not sure the camera's going to pick this up appropriately. There we go. Yeah, we are left with a problem, which is we got to secure these ballast boxes. And I keep saying ballast. It may have a different name. I call it a ballast because if you're using true HID, high intensity discharge lights, those super crazy high powered halogens that also come on some vehicles these days, well, came on most, and then everyone's kind of switching to LED, but they require a ballast to work correctly, and it's a similar sort of thing. It's a little box, and it gets mounted somewhere. So we have a problem. We got to mount these guys somewhere, somehow, some way. And one thing that AUXITO did not provide that I can see is any sort of mounting equipment. No zip ties, no sticky pads, nothing. So that's definitely a ding against AUXITO, because if you're doing a conversion, they know out of the box there's not going to be a spot for this in your vehicle. You're going to have to kind of make a spot somehow. So it would have been nice if they'd thrown in a couple of zip ties or some recommendations based on the most popular vehicles their stuff's getting installed in. But oh well, that's not really stopped us before, has it? So I don't really have any spare sticky pad. I do have some double-sided automotive tape, actually, now that I think about it, so I just lied. I may try using that. I want the ballast away from the actual headlight bulbs, because they do throw a lot of heat. Even though they're LED, they still throw a ton of heat. So not as much as a halogen, but still. I'm thinking actually right here is pretty good. I could or actually right there is actually pretty good. I kind of like that. So what you could do is, there is a little hole that they left at the top there, and if you get yourself a little self-tapper, you could tighten that in somewhere. I will try just to clean this up with alcohol and then use this double-sided tape, because if I try to come into that with a self-tapper, I got to move this, and I've done it before, but it's kind of a pain. And hey, 2 new tripods. The world's ending. Wow. Decided it was time to upgrade. Now over here we have more of a challenge, because the battery is here, and I don't want to attach this in any way to the battery or the battery tray. So what I may do is, we got that nice little piece of steel right there that is the top of the shock mount. And I think I'll clean that up and try to stick it there and see what happens. So let me go do that, and then I'll bring you back, show you what I did, and I guess I'll have to update you in a couple weeks, couple months, and see how the tape's doing. So this is what we look like after we've put the tape on the back of the ballast. I haven't peeled the other side yet, but I figured, hey, might as well talk about sticky tape real quick, in case there's somebody here who's, well, never really worked with it. So it's back down. This is actual 3M automotive double-sided tape. It does matter. This is used by manufacturers where they'll stick cladding or other kind of exterior pieces on. They'll use this kind of tape to hold on the badging on the side of your vehicle. And it'll hold for 20, 30 years if it's applied correctly. I think they use a little heat when they do it, which I'm not doing, but here, at least, it's pretty warm. It's about 99 out here in North Florida today. About 115 with the heat index, but anyway. You peel off what you want. It cuts easy with just regular scissors. And then, if you're like me and you don't have fingernails, you cry, but then you got to peel this red up, and it's double-sided sticky. When you go to stick it, press and hold for at least 30 seconds. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, right? Count that out. Make sure you do that. And if your surface is like this and it's extremely dirty, take a rag and some cleaning alcohol. This is 70% isopropyl. Pour a generous amount on there. Just wipe it down. I'm using this as an example just so you guys see the process. And then you can use a little dry part and get it nice and dry. So now you'd have a nice, dry, clean portion for that tape to stick to. And at a molecular level, clean surfaces actually are naturally slightly sticky. So the tape bonds much, much, much better to a clean surface than a dirty one. So use alcohol, get it clean, dry it off. Squeeze your tape for a half minute to a minute, and generally you will find success. Sometimes it doesn't work and it falls down and you go from there. But I have found in the past, historically, as long as you put enough tape for the weight you're trying to stick, it works pretty well. So even though AUXITO gave this to me and said, hey, go ahead and install it, my number one thing when I wrench on anything that I do is safety. If it is not done in a way that is safe for long-term use, I will tear it out and redo it. So I say that to say that tonight when I check these bulbs, if I don't like what I see, they will come back out. Full stop. Because safety is my number one priority, and I will not, I refuse to be that guy who has LED bulbs that are not aimed properly or don't throw the correct sort of beam form so they're blinding other drivers. I am not going to be that guy. So all that is to say, hang on to your old bulbs if they're in decent shape. And I'm just going to reuse this packaging here. Hang on to these until you've got an opportunity to do some night driving and make sure that the beam form is good and everything else looks good, so that if you do need to roll back, you have everything you need to roll back. I mean, AUXITO is very nice to give this to me, and I would love to try it out. I've done LED conversions before. Again, on the channel, on my Ford Ranger. Actually, it's a Mazda B3000, but Ford Ranger. And that worked fine once I got the headlight buckets pointed correctly. The cool thing about this conversion is that I did not have to modify any of the adjusters on the buckets. So in theory, if I'm not blinding anybody with the halogens that I had originally, I should not blind anybody with the LEDs, providing that the beam form is roughly the same and it's not a bunch of refracted light that gets scattered all over willy-nilly, which happens with cheaper LED kits. So we shall see. Anyway, guys, other than sticking the stuff, which I'm just going to go ahead and do, and then I'll let you guys see, I am done on this truck until tonight when, sun goes down and I can do a stare and compare. So let me go do stuff. Alright, let me get this out of here so it doesn't melt. Whoops. Alright, so here we are. That's how we wound up over here. And hopefully that sticks. This is the driver's side. And then here on the passenger side, that is how we wound up there. So hopefully that's, again, sticks. And tonight I will do my testing and we'll see how this looks. Okay guys, here is the big moment we've all been waiting for. Here once again is our before. And now here is the after. Before and after. Now we'll move on with my analysis of the after. Okay, and here is our after with the AUXITO LED bulbs in. And one thing I immediately like that I see is the beam form does look pretty good. I didn't really walk this out or show it in the before, and it's kind of hard to see here because of the throw length. But when I was maneuvering my truck, what I was seeing is, rule of thumb is if you're sitting in the driver's seat, so we'll have to bear with the dinging here. If you're sitting in the driver's seat, the meat of your beam should be slightly to the right of your left headlight. It shouldn't be pointed straight. That'll blind oncoming traffic. You don't want it too far over because that potentially could blind traffic in other lanes. You want it kind of pointed a little bit to the right, but not too far right. And what that tells me is I had the headlight buckets pointed correctly, but what it also tells me is that the beam form here is good. It's actually quite good for an LED conversion. One of the issues I had when I did the conversion in my Ranger, my B3000, is even though I had the buckets pointed right, the beam form still wasn't great. I wasn't blinding other drivers, but it wasn't as cohesive as what I see here. So good job to AUXITO for making a pretty solid beam pattern. If we back up a little bit more, I can back up a little bit more here. Let me do that and then we can talk a little bit more. Actually, let me move my truck and then we can. So if you're standing back here, it illustrates a little bit more what I mean by like a cohesive beam form. So we do have light that's off to the left, and we have some light off to the right. But you see the meat of the beam is staying centered a little bit to the right and down throw, which is where I had pointed the buckets with the old headlights, and it's staying there. I'm not seeing a bunch of light kind of refracted and bounced off in random angles, which happens sometimes with LED conversions, particularly if you don't put the emitters at 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So this looks really good. This looks actually a whole lot better than the conversion I did with my B3000. So first impressions are good. It's a much brighter light. It's staying cohesive and solid even as it's getting thrown downrange. I would say my visibility looks greatly improved. So far, I'm pretty happy with what I see. I will reserve total judgment until I have an opportunity to do some night driving and see how this performs in various weather conditions. Like how do these lights work in light to moderate fog, which we do get often in the spring and the fall around here? How do they work in heavy rain? You know, is there a situation where the way the color of this light and the intensity of this light is going to work against me? How does it bounce off of various construction signs? Am I going to get blinded when I see a caution sign? Those kind of things. So first impressions, I like what I see. I think the product is good in that they made it well, and the engineering is good in that it will be a drop-in replacement. But I reserve judgment as far as the intensity and the color of the light. But otherwise, this is a clean install. They appear to be working, and it's a good upgrade, at least first impressions. Alrighty folks, that's going to do it for this episode where we upgraded the headlight bulbs in this 2001 F250 named Miss Mildew from standard halogens up to LEDs. And again, thank you to AUXITO for providing those bulbs that allowed this video to happen. They are providing a discount code that you can use at their website to purchase headlight bulbs like these and other accessories. Again, the code is Mazda, M-A-Z-D-A, B, number 3, K, 15. You can enter it at checkout. It's 15% off. So, you know, swing by their site, see if there's something there you like. And if you enjoyed this video, if you found it entertaining, if it was educational, please consider sharing, and subscribing. That does help to grow this channel and to create more opportunities like what happened for this video, where folks might give me junk so that I can make a video about it. Also, please leave a comment. I like to read them, I like to reply to them, and I like to learn from them. And lastly, guys, remember, I do make the mistakes, so you don't have to. I'll see you guys next episode.